So far in my life, I've yet to experience true loss. Within the past couple years, I have had family members pass away, my grandma and great grandmother. It definitely did suck to lose them, but I wasn't truly heartbroken over it like other members in my family were. I can probably count on one hand the amount of people that I would actually be upset about were they to pass away, and I pray to God that that doesn't happen for a good long while. I'm not proud of how apathetic I am. I wish I was the kind of person who had more emotion, who would cry when watching a sad movie or cry tears of joy when something incredible happens. Most of the time, I'm usually deadpan and don't react much to the things around me, and it kinda sucks to be like this. However, I've recently finished reading a manga series that just barely got me. Not full on tears, but damn, it felt like someone was cutting onions nearby. You already know what it is because it's the name of the video, but today I wanted to talk about The Summer You Were There. As you know, or maybe not, I'm a huge Yuri fan. I'm also the type to hyperfixate on things very easily, and I'm absolutely obsessed with series like Citrus, I'm in love with the villainess, Whisper Me a Love Song. It's unfortunate though because none of my friends are into Yuri, so all I'm left with are Twitter lesbians with the most garbage takes imaginable. So I tend to avoid fandoms of the things I like, including YouTube videos, because I'd prefer not to finish something I like only to find a 2-hour video telling me why the thing I like is bad. I have no idea what the consensus is on the ending to The Summer You Were There, but what I can tell you is that it hurt me really fucking bad. Hoshikawa Shizuku is our main character for this series. She's a gloomy, depressed girl who at the very beginning plans to throw away some story she's writing and disappear, as she puts it, only for a girl named Asuka Kaori to get her hands on it before Hoshikawa can throw it away and read it despite her protests. Asuka returns the next day and tells her she absolutely loves the story and tries to get Hoshikawa to continue writing and says they should pretend to date over the summer in order to get inspiration for her to write her next story. Hoshikawa is hesitant at first because she thinks Asuka has some ulterior motive and flat out just can't understand her. With some pushing, they finally agree to spend the summer pretending to be a couple. I absolutely love the first volume of this series because it's so damn deceptive. When I first purchased this series, I was expecting a wholesome Yuri where the popular girl and the shy girl fall in love because that's what the description and later the volume itself led me to believe. And I could not have been more wrong. Shizuku is terrified of letting others get closer to her and says she is a horrible person people shouldn't get close to. We find out it's because in elementary school, Shizuku bullied her classmate and pretty much traumatized the poor girl. Lo and behold, Kaori already knew, and despite all that, still chose to get close to Shizuku, which ends up confusing her even more as to why she's trying so hard to be friendly with her. I'm not gonna lie, when Shizuku kept putting herself down, talking about how terrible of a person she was, I was expecting something way more intense, like she killed somebody or something. Not to downplay Ruri's trauma or anything, but to play devil's advocate, the reveal is literally Shizuku saying she bullied her friend in school, which felt a bit anticlimactic. This burden Shizuku carries has caused her to shut out everyone around her, classmates, family, and anybody who just tries to get close to her in general. That is, until Kaori comes along and tries to break down those walls. They go on dates, grow flowers together, give each other cute gifts, and do all the things couples would normally do. Then we reach the end of Volume 2 after Kaori and Shizuku go on a date to a festival. We are then met with a scene of Kaori falling over and having some sort of coughing fit, and we come to the terrifying realization why this series is called The Summer You Were There. What makes this series so depressing is after this moment, you know full well what is coming. You can't help but hope and pray that something will change. At the end of the third volume, Kaori collapses in front of Shizuku and is admitted to a hospital for the rest of the series. And it's here the grim reality of the situation finally comes crashing down on Shizuku. After 5 years, Shizuku feels like she can finally live with herself. Then the moment she gets close to someone, that someone is suffering from an illness, and there's nothing she can do about it. The whole story is shown from Shizuku's point of view, and we get to see how she responds to all of this. We see her hopelessness, terror, and frustration as she's forced to watch the one person she let close to her die. The Summer You Were There portrays Shizuku's anxiety in a way that starts to make me feel anxious as well. That dreadful feeling when she leaves the hospital, telling Kaori she'll see her again tomorrow, always wondering if there will even be a tomorrow. Her love for Kaori is constantly growing, but is too scared to admit her feelings, and to make matters worse, their time, more specifically Kaori's time, is limited, so the extra pressure sure doesn't make things easy. I wasn't sure how I felt about the scene where Shizuku finally admits her feelings at first, but as I sat on it, I think I actually love it. When Shizuku finally finishes their love story, which she will end up calling The Summer You Were There, at the end she writes to Kaori that she loves her and emails the story to her. All we get in response is a "me too" from Kaori. And in the very next scene, we're told that Kaori died that night. It does kinda suck we didn't get a face-to-face love confession, but to be honest, I think this fits Shizuku's character so much better. She was never good at expressing her feelings unless they were written into a story. This was the best way she could have told Kaori she loved her. Kaori's response was very short, but she was dying in that moment, so the fact she at least got to let Shizuku know she felt the same way before dying was really all that mattered. And also, it reminds me back of when Shizuku was writing her apology letter to Ruri and couldn't find the right words to express her feelings. Kaori tells her that the word count doesn't matter as long as you can properly convey your feelings, and Kaori's small but effective response at the end reminded me of that. I absolutely love the story between Shizuku and Kaori, but to be honest, it's not my favorite part of the story. My favorite is Shizuku herself. I've made this joke time and time again because I think it's funny, but this time I am being 100% genuine when I say that Hoshikawa Shizuku is just like me. For real, for real. Shizuku is a quiet, depressed girl who shuts everyone out because she believes she is a horrible person and is afraid of hurting anyone again if they get too close. In case you haven't watched any video I've made about For Honor, I myself have some very serious anger issues. Call me Phineas and Ferb, because where the fuck is Perry? I completely understand Shizuku's reasoning for doing this because I've done the same thing. I'm absolutely terrified of accidentally lashing out at people who don't deserve it, so I just made the decision to not even try and get close to anyone. Here's some lore about me. I've never had a girlfriend. There's nothing scarier to me than getting a girlfriend only to fuck it up by getting angry and doing something wrong. Until I learned to get myself under control, I refused to even try and get one. It's the same with friends and family. The only person who's even aware of my issues is my mom, and that's only because of a certain series of events I'm not going to talk about here. Everyone around me just thinks I'm an antisocial nerd who just hates talking to people and wants to play video games, which isn't entirely wrong, but it's also not entirely true. I don't want to be antisocial. I want to go out and make friends and hang out with people and do all those kinds of things. I'm just too scared of doing something wrong to even make the attempt. Instead, I just shut myself in my room because it's easier. When I'm in my room alone, I don't have to worry about upsetting anyone. The only person I can disappoint is myself. I am trying to better myself these days, but it's not easy. I do want to believe that at some point in the future, I'll be good enough to go outside, make new friends, and experience new things. My favorite scene in this series is near the end of Volume 4. Shizuku goes on a hike with her sister because she's trying to get ideas for her story with Kaori. Shizuku manages to open up to her family for once after shutting them out for 5 years and apologizes for worrying them. Up until not too long ago, I was doing practically the same thing. I kept everyone out because I didn't think anything I was going through mattered to anyone. I was scared to open up to people because I was scared they wouldn't care, and also people have their own problems to deal with. I didn't want to burden people with mine as well. I've managed to slightly bridge the gap with my mom, and when I get the chance, I try to apologize to her for causing her problems while I was growing up. I always felt like I wasn't a very good kid growing up, despite what my mom actually says, so I do hope that at some point in the future, I can pay her back for everything she's done for me. Shizuku isn't good at voicing her feelings, so when she tries to apologize to Ruri, for example, instead of saying sorry to her face, she instead opts to write her a letter since she's always had an easier time putting her feelings down on paper, and I feel in a similar way. You want to know what I love most about YouTube? Here, I can finally voice the things I've always wanted to say but couldn't. In case it wasn't super obvious, all my videos are scripted and this is just me reading it out. If you were to ask me my opinions on this series in the moment, I probably wouldn't be able to give an answer besides just telling you I liked it. Here though, I can properly sit down and write down my thoughts, so I can deliver them in a mostly cohesive manner. That thing I said about trying to get closer with my mom again, I've never actually managed to express myself to her or apologize to her face. Everything I've opened up to her about has always been through text because not only is voicing my opinions hard, I just can't talk to people all that well in general. When you fall down all these rabbit holes of shutting yourself away and and avoiding any contact with people, it's easy to get in your own head and doubt your own existence. Shizuku fully believed that her being here was just causing problems for everyone around her, and that disappearing would make everything better. I've never thought about actually killing myself, but I won't lie to you and say that I've never had these kinds of thoughts. It's easy to think that you're just a burden to those around you, and it would be so much easier if you weren't around anymore. Those intrusive thoughts always get worse, though, and you start to believe that people would actually be happier if you were gone. You ask yourself, how long would it even take for people to realize that I was gone? 99% of the time, though, this is never true. Despite all these thoughts that rush through my head and make me think things would be easier without me, I know that there is a place for me in this world, that if I suddenly disappeared on everyone, they would actually be upset. There are people who care about me, and while it's always hard to come to terms with that, I'm still choosing to believe that there are people who would be sad if I left them. I'm not ready to say goodbye just yet. It's easy to say that I'm 22 and I have less than 10 years till I'm 30, which is basically middle-aged, and that my life is practically over. But it isn't. Not even close. I have an infinite number of chances to get things right and get back in touch with those closest to me. But just, baby steps. The Summer You Were There isn't just a love story between these two girls. It's also a story about self-love. Shizuku doesn't just learn to love Kaori, she learns to love herself as well. Thanks to Kaori, Shizuku manages to pick up writing again, to let her family back in again and make amends with Ruri. She finally realizes it's okay to let yourself be happy, that she isn't in the wrong for trying to live her life. Even when we reach the end, when Shizuku finally finishes their love story and tells Kaori she loves her, when Kaori finally passes away, Shizuku still holds on to all those gifts Kaori gave her. Shizuku continues to live for both her sake and Kaori's. Kaori gave her a second chance to make things right, a chance she otherwise never would have had. The Summer You Were There has already become one of my favorite mangas of all time. Not that there was much competition, the only manga I've read to completion are the quintessential quintuplets, Citrus, and I'm almost done with Claymore. I don't love it more than I do Citrus, even though it's probably objectively better than Citrus, but that's just because I'm autistic. I've never encountered a piece of media that had a character I could relate to almost perfectly. Shizuku is just a gender-bent version of me with white hair, so that instantly makes her the bestest of girls. Unfortunately, I'm not a pro writer or anything like Shizuku, but after having witnessed Maya Luna's and Carrie Shawcross's writing in the form of Ruby, I think I could be a pretty capable writer compared to them, but that's not really a high bar to climb. That's everything I've got to say today. I'm gonna go reread Whisper Me a Love Song so I can try and feel some semblance of happiness again. Please like and subscribe. Okay, bye-bye now.